Today I'm going to go over the top 3 questions I get asked by customers regarding surf fishing. Running a surf fishing shop, I get questions daily. When to fish, how to fish, what's the best times to fish? All these questions, guys, I hear over and over. I get asked a lot about tackle. And at the end of the day, a lot of these questions don't even matter. I'm going to go over the top 3 questions I get almost on a daily basis, guys, regarding surf fishing. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to tell you why you should ignore them. So let's get started. Number 1, rigs. It's not so much about brand that I get asked, guys. It's about color. More specifically, float color. I get asked about float color at least 3 times a day, guys. What's the best float color to use? What color is working right now? Do certain colors work better in certain seasons? And here's the truth of it, guys. A lot of these colors on floats, they're made for you, not the fish. When's the last time you've seen a chartreuse crab or a purple sand flea? These companies need to sell products. So how do they sell products? They create flash. Flash meaning different colors, different shapes, different sizes. They need to catch your attention when you walk in the shop to bring your eye towards their product. And once they have your eye, they need to be able to secure the sale. What makes this one different from this one? What makes this one better than that one? It's a big game. And in no way am I saying that these don't work, because they do. We've all caught fish on purple and pink and orange floats. They absolutely work. What I'm getting at is there's not necessarily one better than the other. If I had to choose one float color to use for the rest of my life, guys, it would be white. White's the most natural color we're throwing in the water. I use a lot of white and I use them in a lot of conditions. Conditions meaning water clarity. I have a certain pattern I go by as far as water clarity. Dirtier conditions, I'm using darker floats. When the water clarity gets that murky color, I lighten it up a bit. And then when it's crystal clear, straight white, guys, or even just beads. Why do I do that? Because I've heard that somewhere along the line. That's it. It made sense, I've stuck to it, and then that's how I'll sell my products. So when a customer comes in and they ask, what color should I use today? I go by off what water clarity I have seen last. So maybe I was out there that morning, it was kind of murky. I'm gonna lead that customer towards those greens, those light oranges, yellows, chartreuse. If it was crystal clear, I would suggest the whites or just only beads. And if it's that dark, muddy water, orange, reds, purples. And that pattern has worked for me over the years, guys. But in reality, they're gonna bite what they're gonna bite. We will drive ourselves crazy with things like this, guys, and really spend a lot of unnecessary time thinking about it. Float color isn't that important. We want to believe it is, but it's really not. I'll get into what's important later in the video. Number 2, guys, the second most asked questions I get inside the shop, when's the best time to go fishing? The short answer, when you can go. There are obviously better bite times than others. Who realistically can go fishing at the best bite times? Hardly anyone, guys. I can't even go fishing at the best bite times. Like I gotta be at the shop, or the best bite times at 3 a.m. And I see a lot of newer anglers getting caught up in this, like I have to be there at this certain time or I'm not gonna catch fish. That is 100% false. The best time to go fishing is when you can go fishing. Let's take a look at Salt Strong Smart Spots and just see for today, what's the best time to go fishing? According to the Smart Spots, from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., you see all this green. This application is saying this is the best time to go fishing. For the day, you can see it's 12 a.m. here all the way to 11 p.m. So for this full 24 hours, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on a Thursday. Not many people can make this, guys. Unless you're retired or working full time or you just happen to have a Thursday off, you're not gonna be able to fish this window. Now for somebody like me, that would have been an absolute pristine time to go fishing, especially if I had a guidebook this morning. I would have started that trip at 6 a.m. We would have fished at 10. Smart Spots is showing green all over the map. Today would have been ideal. But let's say I book a guide this afternoon. Do I say, nope, we can't do it this afternoon because the app says this is not a good time? Absolutely not. We go fishing. Don't get caught up on the best fishing times, guys. A rule of thumb for me is I fish sunup and sundown. A lot of you guys can't fish sunup because you work, but you might can get an hour or 2 in the afternoon. That sunup bite and that sundown bite is my most successful time of fishing, guys. If I have that luxury for the day, I will target those high activity fish times, and I do well during those too. But just for general rule of thumb, sunup, sundown, or more importantly, whenever you can go. Number 3, guys, the third most asked questions I get inside the shop: where are the fish at? I don't know. I knew where they were at yesterday, but I can't tell you where they're at now 24 hours later. I always have a general idea of where fish are being caught. I have to, it's my job. But I can't 100% guarantee that because I was catching fish here yesterday, they're gonna be there today. Fish are moving, y'all. You will come across hot spots where you're catching fish over and over day after day, but you basically gotta be lucky to find those. I could send you to the same spot, GPS tracking to where I was catching fish yesterday, and you might get skunked. There's so much factors that go into if those fish are gonna be there or not. I have a good idea if they're in the area, but that's about it. Honestly, guys, it's a guessing game every time I go out there. We don't have like major structure beach fishing. There's structure out there, the sandbars, the cuts, the holes, but we'll use like the pier for an example. The pier has physical structure. So if there's like a lot of people catching fish on a pier, you can pretty much guarantee that tomorrow if you go, they'll probably still be there. They're hanging around that structure, those pylons, for a reason. Could be huge bait balls under there, barnacles they're feeding on. Whatever it is, it's holding those fish there. It doesn't happen like that so much in the surf, in the wide open surf. These predator fish are a lot of times chasing bait. So a more appropriate question that should be asked is, where's the bait? If you can find the bait, you can usually find the fish. So how do you find bait? Look for the birds diving. The birds lining the shoreline, those are great points to look for. Those birds are hanging out there for a reason, y'all. In the wide open water like that, a school of fish isn't just gonna hang out in the same spot for no reason. They're looking for food, they're moving. This time of year, they're trying to stay warm. So you have to think about all those factors. Find the bait, and more than likely, you're gonna find fish. And now what you all came for, guys, let's get into the questions that should be being asked. Number 1, beach structure. I think a more appropriate question and a more beneficial question to ask if you're a weekend warrior or you're an out-of-towner and you don't really have time to figure all this stuff out during the week, ask me about beach structure. Beach structure will change, but not overnight. If I have found a good piece of structure that's producing fish, more than likely that structure is going to stay the same for a while. I can point you in a direction where there's a high probability of fish being around. Why? Because that structure provides cover. These predators, they want to hide, guys. They want to hide, they want to feed inside those lips. Where that sandbar drops off, that little lip right there, bait gets stuck in there. Fleas, coquina clams, shrimp. It's a nice little buffet table for these guys just to feed in. I can more than likely point you towards a nice piece of structure rather than telling you where the fish are. Number 2, trends in the area. It's rare that I get that question, guys, surprisingly. It's more about float color and where the fish are at. Ask me about trends, like what's biting. We all want to catch pompano every day, but in reality, it's not going to happen. You can have a blast out there with Spanish, bluefish, flounder in the surf this time of year. There's months that if you just want to go out there and have a blast, I could put you on a whole school of ladyfish. Not the most delicious species, but they're fun to catch, especially for smaller kids or even newer anglers. I think a lot of times we get stuck in this mindset of beach fishing equals pompano, but there's so much more to it, guys. I can go out there with Thunder and catch whiting for 2 hours and be satisfied. And it doesn't require a lot of gear. We take 2 smaller rods, a cup of shrimp, and we're on them. Ask me about the trends, guys. I can even tie you up rigs right here on the spot to be able to handle what's out there at the moment. So right now we got black drum around. I can get you guys some stronger leaders going using mono, bigger hooks, things like that, so you can target these bigger fish successfully. Just think outside the box sometimes, guys. You might get turned on to something you fall in love with. And last but not least, one of my favorite things to do, one of my favorite ways to fish, and I rarely get asked about it, is the Bayside. Conditions aren't always ideal to fish the surf. This doesn't mean give up and go home. We have an entire body of water right behind us that gets neglected. You can do it land-based, you can catch different species. Most of y'all have an inshore rod in your garage, and you can really take your surf fishing gear Do the same thing you're doing on the Gulf side, on the Bayside. There's all kind of stuff in that water, y'all. Again, think outside the box a little bit. If it's super rough out there or super dirty or there's seaweed, there's a lot of factors that can go on the Gulf side that makes it impossible to fish. Whenever that's happening for me, guys, I take it to the bay. And I'm gonna leave you guys with one more. This is another question I rarely get asked, and it's so important, guys. This is the one. Knowing this will make or break your trip. It's knowing when to move, how long you should stay in one spot before you pack up your gear and head down the beach. So important, guys. I see it every summer, and I get it. Folks are down here on vacation. It's family time. They want to get everybody out on the beach, and then the fisherman in the family wants to do some fishing. But the problem occurs as they have an entire campground out there. Tents and chairs and grills and 3 coolers, beach toys, beach towels, just a monstrosity of a campground out there. And once they get all that set up, it's going to be real hard to move, guys. They might set up in a dead zone, but that's where they're going to stay. I strongly suggest to the fishermen and the family that are down here on vacation, get up early, y'all. Get up early. Go give yourself 2 hours alone on the beach. You'll be able to find some fish that way and find a better spot. And that way, when the family does get up, you can direct them to where you're at. Or if they're not doing a beach day, you could be on the beach, catch some fish, and back at the condo a lot of times before anybody gets out of bed. Avoid at all costs the just massive amount of gear. You're not going to move. So a rule of thumb for me is 30 to 45 minutes. What are the signs I'm looking for to merit a move? 3 main factors. Number 1 is my bait staying on the hook. If I'm casting out 4 or 5 lines and then I'm doing a bait check every 10 to 15 minutes and I'm reeling up that same piece of bait that I threw out there, nothing's in the area, guys. There's no bait fish, there's no crabs, there's nothing. A piece of shrimp will attract everything. So if I've done 3 bait checks and I'm pulling up shrimp every time that same shrimp I threw out there, I'm gone. And this doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to get in the vehicle and head down to a different beach. Not yet. I'm going to try the next beach structure closest to me. Sometimes even leapfrogging rods will make a difference. So let's say I've moved spots, I'm down to the next beach structure, and the same thing is happening. At this point, I'm going to start being more aware of other factors. Are there any birds in the area? Have I seen any dolphins? Have I seen anything that tells me there's life? If the answer is no, guys, after another 30 to 45 minutes, at that point, I'm probably moving beaches. I got a 5-mile distance that I'll do at that point. I'll either move 5 miles to the east or 5 miles to the west. That's after an hour and a half of fishing, pulling up the same bait that I was throwing out, moving around that particular area with nothing. And when I say nothing, guys, I'm not catching catfish, I'm not catching blue runners, nothing. Now I've moved 5 miles down the beach and I got lines out again. And I'll repeat that process until I find fish. Number 3, guys, on a crowded beach. It's real easy for us to find the closest spot to set up camp. You're going to have a lot of activity in the water, especially in the summertime. And believe it or not, all that splashing around, all the kids in the water, that will shy away the fish. If you're set up in the area and the area around you starts getting crowded, and it doesn't matter if you were there first, all that goes out the window. But if you're seeing a lot of like in-water activity or even shoreline activity, these fish will see us on the shoreline. Like they're not like, there's Blaine, he's trying to catch me, but I look like some sort of predator, probably a bird. So they're gonna get away from that. So you got a lot of little kids running around the shoreline, the fish are gonna move away. No matter if I was there first or not, if I start getting a lot of activity around me in my general area of fishing, I'm more than likely gonna move. You could have been catching fish there earlier, but once all that activity starts, the bite's probably gonna turn off. I have no problem sharing information. I want you to be successful. I want you to ask me questions and then be successful because then you'll come back. Get out there and fish when you can, guys. Don't worry too much about when's the right time to fish. Stop losing sleep over float color and give different styles of fishing a chance. I promise you, it will not only improve your game, but it'll make the whole experience more enjoyable. If you guys ever want to run a trip in this area, we are running surf fishing guides. We do surf fishing lessons, and we have kayak fishing guides. If you guys enjoyed this video, check out this next one. And I wish y'all the best of luck out there. See you on the next one.